What's up, King? How you doing?
How do they make shirt sleeves your size, dude? Like, do you get a medium shirt size, but then like a triple XL sleeve size? Is that how that works?
Oh man, you're hilarious.
So what do you got for me tonight?
I was given a lead by a wholesaler. It's kind of a weird situation. I just wanted to get your wisdom on it. It's in Myrtle Beach, literally steps away from the water. Total of 7 properties, which consist of 3 main properties. So it's one single family house, which is zoned commercial, which you could build 5 townhouses on. It's one property that has 5 townhouses on it. And then it's another property with 3 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom units on it. He wants to do creative financing, no agents. He's asking 1.8. He has a mortgage balance of 900,000. He is not open to carrying that. He wants that paid off as the down payment, and he wants to seller finance the rest over 30 years, amortized, 10-year balloon.
Okay, so Morby Method.
I was assuming that.
Morby Method, because he doesn't want to carry the Subto. Why?
He's just not interested in that. He was like, oh no, I don't want anything. I want it out my name. Yeah, he understands performance deeds and stuff like that, but he's not interested in that. He just did not want to do that.
So a couple things. This is not like dating. If a woman says no, she means no. If a seller says no, they mean no, not yet. So what I would say is either A, this is a pipeline deal where you follow up. Because all the best deals I've done are not from 1 phone call, 2 phone calls, 5 phone calls. The best deals I've done have required like 10, 12 phone calls. One, I would find out, like for me, I would be like, well, why? I would spin it on him, right? Because a lot of these sellers in a seller finance situation are like your uncle that want to give you advice because they're just like me. They're proud of the knowledge they have, so they're excited to give you the information. It's almost like they're not educating you; they're like bragging, right? So he wants to give you advice, and so you got to put him in a position where he will give you advice, and you need to steer that advice into the reason why he won't do the Subto. For me, I would say, hey, you've been doing this a lot longer than me. I'm just curious, why wouldn't you want to carry that Subto? And if you can't have that conversation with him openly, it's because you haven't built enough rapport. And if you haven't built enough rapport, it means you've only had a few phone calls. You probably need more phone calls checking in on this guy. If I want a great deal, it comes down to 2 things: rapport and follow-up. That's it. I don't even have to be that great of a negotiator, right? Because the greatest negotiator I have is Father Time. Like Father Time on this guy, me being persistent is going to change him. In fact, it's funny. I have Matt Beard. That's a great story. Matt tells this story all the time. Matt Beard, one of my partners. I'm like, dude, how did you get your wife, dog? She's so hot. And he's like, honestly, I just kept following up, man. I just kept her in my CRM. But he's basically like, I just followed up. I was persistent. And before long, the rapport level made me look way more handsome. And so it's going to be the same thing with you, is that the rapport level is always going to make your offer seem way more attractive.
He's just really completely against carrying it.
But he's willing to carry a seller finance note. Literally, what's the difference?
Nothing. That's what I tried to explain to him. He's just, no. He's not for it. He refused to give me any financials unless I send him like an LOI or whatever.
And then send him an LOI. What is an LOI going to change?
Nothing. He said he makes $10,000 a month gross with all the units, and all the tenants cover their own utilities. Everything is separately metered.
Okay, so $10,000 for a $1.9 million purchase is not enough money to cover what your payment would be to him if he carried a large portion of it. Here's where I would start. I would start in a situation of, what could this property bring in capital, and who's my buyer? Because it doesn't sound like you're the buyer.
This was my initial call with this guy, so I have not gotten to that point yet.
So here's what I would do. I would call the guy up tomorrow, the next day, whenever your follow-up is. And I would just be a little bit more playful with him, which, Chris, I think you have a very playful side. I would call him up and I would be a little bit more playful. And I'd be like, man, every way I chop this up, I just can't figure out how to make this deal work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and go and find some additional partners to see if they can either A, help me make the deal work, or B, bring a different idea to the table that I'm not thinking of. Can I check back in with you in like 2 weeks? And I would leave this guy on ice knowing that nobody else is going to close this deal. Okay, that's one of the greatest parts about creative finance, is that 99.9% of wholesalers are never going to do what you have the ability to do. So what I would do is I would then go and find your buyer. Act as if you have it under contract and go find your buyer. and have a conversation with that buyer and go, what would I have to do to make this appealing to you? And I would mess around with that person and have them tell you what the right numbers are before you go and structure this deal. Because no matter what you do, you're still going to have to turn around and wholesale this off to somebody, right? Then in 2 weeks, I would call the seller back up and I would say, hey, after a couple of weeks of working on this, I went through 4 or 5 different partners. Most of the people said no. I've got a partner on the table that says, if you're willing to carry the loan balance, we might be able to make this work. Have you had any thoughts on that? He's going to say no. And then what you're going to say is okay, great. Well, I'm going to send over an LOI to you based on what me and my partner are thinking on this property. And that LOI is going to be a cash price with him carrying a certain portion of it on the back end. Probably, is he willing to carry 900,000?
Yes, I mean, he said the sales price is 1.8. So if the mortgage balance is 900,000, yeah, he'll carry that remaining 900.
Okay, I mean, this is easy. It's a Morby method, right? But even right now, if you got this under contract under a Morby method, you still have to go find a buyer.
Right.
So why not go find the buyer first on this deal before you go lock it up as a Morby method so that you know you're structuring it properly and you're not out to lunch on this deal?
Why don't you buy it? Yeah. If I show you it on Google Earth, you'll be like, all right, maybe.
Here's my honest problem right now. I have too many properties in escrow. My biggest issue right now, by the end of the year, I will have onboarded 900 doors and 900 tenants in 1 year. 2 major problems with that. Well, guys, what are the 2 major problems with that? One, management. Like human beings have to do that work. It ain't me. I'm here hanging out with you guys. The second problem is capital. I didn't raise capital for like half of those deals. I used my own cash. I mean, they're all seller finance, right? They're all creative finance. So my cash requirements are relatively low, but still a lot of cash. And so I'm like, literally yesterday we had a meeting and my CPA is like, you have no money. So if I do this deal, that means I got to go raise money. Are these operational right now?
Yeah, they're fully occupied.
All of them?
Yeah, month to month.
And he's only bringing in 10 grand a month?
I believe, yeah. Or I think it's maybe 2 units are.
How many units are there?
There are 5 townhomes, there's 1 single family, and then there's basically a triplex. So you're talking about what, 9, 10 units total? But those are traditional rental rates. He said Airbnb would be completely different.
Okay, here's what I want you to do, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to call Caleb Christopher. And I want you to say, hey, Caleb, will you underwrite this? Here's what I'll do for Caleb. If this is a deal I end up buying, I'll even buy the deal and I'll keep Caleb in as a part owner with no money out of his pocket. And I'll even keep you in as a small part owner with no money in your pocket, and I'll pay you an assignment fee up front. But you need to call Caleb Christopher and say, hey, Caleb, can we underwrite this? Look at this deal. Let's look at the Airbnb potential. Let's look at this. Let's look at that. Present it to me, right? Like I'm a buyer.
Yeah, I will. Pace, I appreciate you, man. You don't know what you've done for me. Like, even if you're unaware, trust me, you've done a lot.
Bro, I'm just starting. And guess what? You are just starting for what you're going to do for me.
For sure.
We're in this together. Appreciate you, brother.